It's the start of the final month of the first quarter of 2024. Hello everyone and welcome to this week's edition of Energy Frontiers. I am Justina Okechukwu. This program has been brought to you with the support of the African Energy Chamber. As always, we begin with some of the biggest energy news on the African continent and around the world at this time. French industrial gases company Air Liquide and Johannesburg-listed energy firm Sasol has signed new power purchase agreements with Enel Green Power for the long-term supply of additional capacity of 110 megawatts of renewable power to Sasol's Secunda site in South Africa. Seplat Energy, a dual-listed Nigerian independent energy company, has reported a revenue growth of 12% for its 2023 financial year, while total dividend for the period was announced at 15 American cents. The oil and gas company says its unit production cost was $10.40 per barrel last year, with a total of $250 million cash generated. Seplat Energy also provided a capital expenditure guidance of between $170 million and $200 million for the current year of operations. Energy research company Wood Mackenzie has predicted that global oil demand growth will rise by 1.9 million barrels a day this year, with key markets in the Asia-Pacific region accounting for over 63% of the total. In terms of oil production, Woodmark says it expects the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries to ask its members to increase volumes in order to balance the markets. In the meantime, oil prices rose on Friday and were set to end the week modestly higher as talks over a potential ceasefire in Gaza were further complicated by the deaths of more than 100 Palestinians waiting for aid delivery, according to news sources. Brent crude futures for April delivery rose 0.4% to $82.20 a barrel, while the U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose 0.3% to $78.48 a barrel. The Angolan Oil and Gas Conference was launched in Luanda this week. This year's event, which is taking place in October, plans to connect the Angolan energy sector with global players and investment opportunities as the Southern African country looks to increase oil production and become a liquefied natural gas supplier. The 7th Summit of Heads of State and Government of the Gas Exporting Countries Forum was held this week in the Algerian capital, Algiers, under the theme, The Algiers Declaration. The two-day high-level meeting was a platform for discussions among each member state regarding the future outlook of global energy security. And that was a summary of your energy news headlines. When we return, we spotlight the Nigeria International Energy Summit held in Abuja during the week. We'll be right back. Nigeria hosted a 5-day International Energy Summit in Abuja, where delegates from national oil companies, chief executives, industry professionals, and key stakeholders from various African oil-producing countries discussed the roadmap for a new energy world order in terms of energy security, transition, and financing. As part of his first official visit to the West African country, the Secretary General of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, Haitham Al-Ghaz, joined a panel of discussants that focused on how African producers can ensure an energy transition that is just, orderly, and equitable.
We produce and sell or export outside of Africa 75% of the oil that we produce. 45% of the gas that Africa produces. Yet, our continent has the largest proportion of its population living in energy poverty. The question is, how do we address it? Do we go the way we have gone in the past, relying on established or received wisdom? We came to the conclusion that if the current challenges were thrown up by a new paradigm shift, then to address those challenges, you also need to change the way you think. I have gone to a number of our member countries, and the commitment and seriousness they have shown far exceeds what Nigeria is showing. I'll give you a very good example. Last September, I was in Ghana. We went to see the president, and the president asked the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Oil, his Chief of Staff, and other senior people to sit with him as he received us. He said, SG, what must we do to get these headquarters? And I said, these are the minimum requirements. You must give us a befitting headquarters. He said, stop. Minister of Finance, that twin tower that you came and asked for one and I approved, where is the other one? He said, it's still there. SG, tomorrow morning, the minister will take you to go and see that place. If it's okay for you, it is the headquarters. And I said, number two, we want you to approve the charter and get your country to sign the host country agreement. He turned around to his chief of staff. Where is the charter? I said, it's not ready. It will be ready on the 2nd of November. He said, as soon as they bring it, prepare it to go to the National Assembly. If there is any challenge, talk to me and I'll call the speaker. The third issue, I said, you have to pay your subscription. He said, how much are we looking at? I said, for the $5 billion first tranche, each country is supposed to pay $83.3 million this year. And he turned around to the Minister of Finance. Do you have a problem raising that fund? He said, if you give approval, we'll find a way. He said, I have given approval. Now, the point I'm making is, and I've been to other countries, and that commitment is seen. Ghana is sending money. They have shown an office, and so on. We can't sit as Nigeria because we are big brothers and say that it will just naturally come to us. So if Nigeria wants it, sit up and show that you are committed and determined to get it.
You cannot just look at energy security and then not think of the other elements of energy poverty. Being in Africa here, I alluded to energy poverty. My brother, Dr. Omar Farouk, spoke about energy poverty. How can we call on the industry to stop investing when we have people who don't have access even to switch on the lights? How can we call on people to stop investing in oil and gas when this is the future source of wealth for the nations and the people? Yes, we do not say, or we do not believe that neglecting the environmental concerns is correct. No, on the contrary, OPEC member countries, our industry, our national oil companies are setting examples on how we can meet these things, doing it in a balanced manner, both investing in renewables, investing in gas, and continuing to invest in oil and the full value chain in the oil industry, and more importantly, investing in the technologies required to reduce emissions. That deals with the emissions issue, but we have to deal with the energy poverty. We have to deal with affordability. And that's how I think the importance of having a nuanced discussion, a balanced discussion about all the energy-related matters is very important, especially when we look at the future and the statistics I mentioned briefly, the staggering primary energy demand forecasts. And this is not just OPEC. You can take any forecast, take Exxon, take Chevron, take BP, take other institutes. The world is going to grow. I think we're going to hit even 10 billion by 2050. The size of the global economy is going to double in size. It goes without saying, there's not going to be one single source of energy that can supply and feed all of this demand growth. It has to be a balanced discussion. We have to continue to invest in the fuels of today in order to ensure the security and affordability that we aspire for, and to fund the transition.
So we talk about the energy transition as well. We have to make sure that we are transitioning in a way that that we're transitioning from fossil fuels in a way that matches affordability of sustainable energy sources. So when we look at the levelized cost of solar, especially grid-scale solar or alternative sources of energy, it is still twice or 3 times the cost of gas. So we see our gas playing a strong role in the energy transition, not only domestically or regionally, but also globally. I like the point also that Secretary General was making about OPEC's demand. When you look at the demand curves or the supply curves going forward, way into 2050, yes, you see oil dropping a bit because of the replacement in cleaner technology, mostly due to electrification of road transport and some transition into cleaner fuels. But for gas, when you look at coal switching in Asia, when you look at the need for industrialization, as I said, in power, gas for feedstock, for petrochemicals, that has a longer leg throughout the transition. So what have we decided to do to prepare? I think the idea and the theme of this conference is really to think through what we do to enable ourselves to provide energy security, to make sure we're doing so sustainably, and that we are able to make sure that this is affordable.
And while the fiscal issues are addressed, even in the short term, you will see new capital will come in. The same way it is true for NNPC, it is also true for our partners. So until new capital comes off, there is no way you can elevate production. And new capital can come in, not just about confidence building now, having the right climate, and also willing people to do business with us and in our country. This is very, very understandable. That's why we are building new partnership. With all respect, with all the indigenous oil producing companies, we're also looking for opportunities to bring in other mid-scale companies into our country. It is unavoidable. Yes, we can build local capacity, but we'll also do everything possible to see more external capital coming into our country so that we can build in the short term, we can put money into the business and grow production, not just for oil, but also for gas. But more so, and I'll connect it to the 10-year plan, more so for gas. We know that it's easier to get capital for gas than you can do for oil. And that means that oil itself, once you're able to produce it, its own cash flow can support some of the things that we can do without much of troubles. So we are focused on making sure that we build the domestic gas infrastructure, which will provide energy, and then other sectors of the economy can pick up, and we can also make money from the gas. But also, the world needs gas today. It will do so in probably even by 2050. That's correct, and OPEC Secretary General is here, that we know that even by 2050, there will be substantial requirement of gas globally. So gas is not going to go away, but it can go away from jurisdictions where your cost of production is higher, where efficiencies are much more difficult to achieve. That means that you must make your own environment very, very competitive so that people can put their money here and they can rely on you to deliver gas into the market. And that's what we are doing in the short term, building new partnership, creating floating LNG. A number of initiatives are on ground. Some are almost approaching FID. Many are maturing to points where we can say, in the next 36 years, we can see at least 1 or 2 of these floating LNG come on the table.
Sometimes in the discussion, therefore, I have the impression that somebody tries to play out financing for renewables against financing for oil and gas, and they tell us that the money is not enough for everything. But I think even listening to the words read by the Minister of Information of your own president, we are of the firm belief that the right mix is the solution to the actual energy crisis. Of course, we recognize that countries in development need oil to create revenue. They need gas as a bridge energy source, but don't forget renewables. Also, all these countries are rich in possibilities for renewable energies, from the sun shining 300 out of 360 days a year, which is not the case in Germany, of course. And of course, you have other geothermal biomass solutions for renewable energies. And if you mix it right and create the right conditions for this, then also your fossil reserves will last for much longer and will create the necessary condition for sustainable development.
Because it affects everything. It affects health, food, transportation, economies, political stability, etc. So it's very important. And you got, like people said, over 600 million people in Africa without proper electricity. And that problem is going to even get worse because population now is what? Roughly about 1.4 billion people, and that's expected to increase to over 2.5 billion by 2050. So it's very, very important that the African continent is allowed to continue developing its fossil fuel alongside taking up the challenges of sustainable energy. And one thing that needs to continue, that's very clear, is funding. Because the funding needs to happen still. After all, when you look at the polluters in the world, I mean, the African continent is only representing about 3.8, less than 4% of the overall carbon emissions is coming from Africa. The rest is coming from elsewhere. And the big culprits, you got the US, you got China, India, etc. And if you look at what these countries are doing now, they are actually increasing their production of fossil fuel. So we have to be very careful what to do. So the ideas of having our own bank, like an African bank, I think will help significantly. Now, if I come home in Nigeria, one of the biggest things going for Nigeria is the natural gas, which is considered a transition fuel. So because of that, you can tag on to that to get funding. And when because natural gas can be used for a variety of things, most of the companies here have gas that can power all of Nigeria for sure. We ourselves are in a block that can definitely, by LNG, etc., can power the whole of Lagos. And that power currently coming into Lagos can be then used elsewhere. So it's one of the biggest advantages that Nigeria has is the natural gas, which there's a lot of that.
Next on Energy Frontiers, the Republic of Congo has the ambition to become the global hub for gas production and exports.
We are done dreaming of an industrialized Africa. No more enduring long journeys in darkness. No more imagining life without constant power. We are done. We are done. Done tolerating 24 hours without power, load shedding, blackouts, and power cuts. Enough. Imagine a life where our abundant natural resources can't power a generation. We can't cope with that reality. 600 million Africans still lack access to power. We have the solution. It's time to turn imagination into action. African Energy Week 2024 is the platform to implement change, sign deals, and take decisive action and implement. Join us. Invest in African energies. Energy growth through an enabling environment and be part of the movement that brings hope to millions across the continent. It's not just about power. It's about empowering lives and giving African hope. Be there to witness the transformation. African Energy Week 2024, where imagination becomes reality. Secure your seat now. Don't miss out on African Energy Week 2024. Visit our website and buy your tickets today. Let's light up Africa and create a brighter future together.
At the time you need to build that project. Sign, baby, sign.
Welcome back. The Republic of Congo actively promoted its natural gas industry at the last African Energy Week conference as the Central African economy looks to attract foreign investments by positioning itself as a highly attractive LNG market. Through collaborations with companies like Italian multinational energy company Eni, the Republic of Congo has become the latest exporter of liquefied natural gas after launching its first cargo load of LNG this week. Here is an excerpt from the Energy Week conference held in October.
Today it's my pleasure to invite you to be key players in this transformation. Our vision is very clear. A Congo that, thanks to gas, can diversify its industry, stimulate its economic growth, create jobs, new local content, and position itself as one of the leaders on the international gas market. The liquefied natural gas, LNG, development project, a collaboration between the national oil company SNPC, Eni, and Lukoil, is a living proof of our ambition and our ability to achieve a big dream of our president. With a significant investment of $5 million and a promising projection, we are on a way to implementing a new era. Our first LNG export will take place within December 2023. I hope that we will have the confirmation by the right people. I mean, Director General of Eni Congo. The first phase is supposed to produce 600,000 tons in a year, starting on December. And the second phase should produce in 2025, 3 million tons a year. In conclusion, I extend my hand to you, not only as a minister, but as a Congolese citizen, proud of his country, proud of his potential, proud of his government, proud of the ambition of the country. Our invitation is not only an investment opportunity, but also an extraordinary chance to build a legacy. Join us, be part of our story, and together, let's write a golden chapter of prosperity for Congo and for you.
Centrale Electrique de Congo is the main power plant in the country. Eni built this power plant, and now we are a shareholder at 20%. 80% is of the Republic of Congo. It has a capacity of 484 megawatt, providing the 70% of the electricity to the country. It's very important because the power plant shows the strategic decision of Eni to invest in Congo, in domestic market, in gas valorization. And we did this decision 20 years ago. And the fact that we did this decision put us now in a scenario where we have already facilities dedicated to gas. And we can leverage, we can do synergy with these facilities in order to have a very fast and quick response to subjects like the security, the energy security, and of course, the production of gas for the domestic market. Exploration. We are doing exploration in Marine 6B's permit. We are doing 2 wells this year. is fundamental. I said that we are producing gas for the domestic market. We are producing gas for very soon for the export. It is important to reload and to recharge our resources and our portfolio. Congo LNG project is a case in point of Eni strategy. As I said, when I talk about the power plant, it is a long time ago that Eni decided to invest in the gas valorization and to have production for the domestic market. In the map, you can see a schematic of the project, and in orange there is the existing facilities, and in blue the one that we are developing and we are going to develop in the coming months and years. As you can see in orange, you have the Nene platform and Lichenji platform. These are two fields that now are already in operation. They are producing. The gas is currently sent to the onshore treatment plant of Lichenjili that treat the gas and send this gas to the power plant. The excess gas is sent to Mbundi, so we avoid the flaring with a reinjection system, so we store our excess gas into the reservoir of Mbundi. The Congo LNG project aims to develop further gas, of course, to continue to meet the national energy needs, but also to valorize the excess gas through the production of LNG. The project will change the production mix of Congo, shifting towards gas, of course, in a clear path of energy transition. It will also assure the zero flaring target, of course, in agreement with Eni strategy, but of course in agreement with the Republic and the law of the Republic of Congo.
And finally, registrations are on for the highly anticipated premier energy event of the year, the African Energy Week 2024, due November 4 to 8 in Cape Town, South Africa. This year, the African Energy Week will launch the African Energy Finance Summit in partnership with the African Export-Import Bank and S&P Global Commodity Insights, providing a platform for project developers and financiers to sign deals and unlock access for Africa's oil, gas, critical mineral, and renewable energy sectors. Go now to the African Energy Week website to save your spot at www.aecweek.com. And that's how we wrap up this package of Energy Frontiers. We thank you all for watching. Be sure to follow the program on Frontier Africa Reports website, like this video, subscribe to our YouTube, and follow us across all our social media handles as indicated on the screen. I am Justina Okechukwu. Bye for now.